Well, let's try and answer that question with Andrew Gilligan, the journalist of the Daily Telegraph, and now also the Mayor's Cycling Commissioner. And incidentally, before we get on to the meat, how does that work? Isn't that a fundamental conflict?
I'm the man who delivers the kind of politics of it, rather than the guy on the side of the street with a shovel. TfL's got a very good and efficient delivery organisation. It's got lots of engineers. It's got lots of road designers. They do all that side. My role is to make the political connections needed to make this happen, because not all these routes are going to be on our roads.
But you're also a journalist speaking truth to power. How can you speak that truth to power when the power's paying you $38,000 for a 2-day a week?
I'm not doing any reporting anymore about City Hall or Boris Johnson. That's part of the agreement with the Telegraph.
Right, that's absolutely clear.
That's right.
Why, though, have you been given this job?
Well, I think this job needs two things. It needs somebody who's got the confidence of the Mayor, which I have, and it's also somebody who's got the confidence of the cycling community, which I have, at least I think provisionally. They're very pleased.
A lot of people, couldn't they have had that? I mean, cycle planners across London and up and down the country had the expertise to do that. I mean, with all respect, I'm one as well, but a mere journalist.
Sure. But I mean, I'm not sure that any cycle planner would necessarily have the confidence of the Mayor that I have.
But
so I'm one
transport advisor, fully paid transport advisor, and Transport for London. And he's had that for time immemorial.
No, he's got a deputy mayor for transport, Isabel Dedring, who's fantastic. But of course, she has to deal with the whole ballpark. Cycling is the only mode in London that has its own commissioner, its own representative at the top table of the Mayor. Buses don't have it, Tube doesn't have it, the rail doesn't have it, only cycling has it.
You'll know, if you were sitting here, you'd be asking Andrew Gilligan, this is cronyism, isn't it? A pal of Boris Johnson, a supporter of him consistently over many years. Cronyism of the worst kind.
This is a political appointment, and all mayors are entitled to appoint political supporters to political appointments, and do so, and have always done so, without controversy. I mean, nobody called Val Shawcross, for instance, a Labour Assembly member, a crony. Quite rightly, she is not a crony, because Ken appointed her as chair of the London Fire Authority. That's a political job to which Ken was entitled to appoint a political supporter, just as Boris has in James Cleverly, and as he has in me.
OK, some of the detail. This Crossrail for bikes, this Westway, how much is that going to cost?
We're thinking about not a huge amount of money. The biggest ticket item is the bridge. We're talking in the tens of millions for that. There's going to be in order to cross the West Cross route to get up onto the A40 flyover, we're going to need a new bike and pedestrian bridge across the West Cross route. That's something. What
do you think then in total? And you've got to complete 15 miles of segregated cycle. How much ballpark?
The ballpark budget for the East-West Superhighway is in the high tens of millions, but that includes the bridge over the West Cross route, which is going to be the most expensive ticket item of it. A lot of the rest is actually relatively cheap, and the point about cycling improvements is that that it delivers enormous amounts of transport bang for the buck. On the tube lines beneath it, it's going to carry about 1,000 cyclists an hour on the Victoria Embankment, that segregated track we're putting in, and that is the equivalent to about 4 entire carriage loads, 4 entire train loads of tube passengers on the lines beneath.
One of the key parts of the route, Victoria Embankment. Now, we understand that Westminster don't like that idea. They don't like the blue, for starters, and it's a conservation area. You haven't got this signed up yet, have you?
We are not doing the blue. There's blue in that video graphic you showed. That's just because there wasn't time to remove it. But if you'll notice on the still we gave you, that wasn't blue. It's not going to be blue.
After objections.
Yes, indeed. And it's because we've consulted with Westminster and they've told us they don't like the blue that we're taking it off. And they are actually remarkably signed up. I don't know if you noticed.
They are signed up to the actual segregated part.
If you know, yeah, that part is on our road. The Victoria Embankment is owned by Transport for London, not Westminster Council. But if you notice in the press release accompanying it, there's a very supportive quote from Westminster's Cabinet Member for Transport, Ed Arger, with whom I've discussed this at length, and also there's support from Philippa Rowe, the leader of the council. That's going to be fine.
The other 8 superhighways that haven't been done now, are they going to still go ahead?
We're going to recast the superhighways, which might mean rerouting some of them.
But are we still going to get 12?
We're going to get the same number, but they're not all going to be in the same places.
Right. Are they going to be segregated with the pavement between the cyclists, protecting the cyclists from the road?
No, not all of them. As the document explains, the vision explains, there are some places we will segregate and other places we can't because of the buses. Unlike Amsterdam, London has a very dense bus network, and the danger of putting a segregated lane is that it has to go between the bus and the pavement, and everyone who steps off the bus...
You recognise and accepted with the centrepiece here, the Crossrail bike, that the ideal is segregation.
Well, I was
you're not going to guarantee that the superhighways are going to be that. The superhighways seem to have been flawed. Why carry on with a flawed model?
I was going to say that all the superhighways are going to be improved. But as the document makes quite clear, we can't do segregation on all of them because there are buses. Now, the reason why we've chosen the Victoria Embankment is there are no bus routes along that stretch. There are no bus routes along the Westway, so we can do full segregation. In other places where there are buses, like Stratford High Street, for instance, we can do it by putting what are called floating bus stops or island bus stops out in the carriageway. Passengers then step off to the island to avoid conflict.
Let me bring
with
the other two in here. Is this going to get you to use your bikes?
Well, I think,
Very briefly.
as we know, the big concern is around safety, and if this vision helps us deliver a safer passage for London cyclists, then I think it's great. I mean, I celebrate the vision. I mean, I think that one of the big worries is whether this it was spun on earlier in the week as being a best part of £1 billion investment. Of course, most of that is not funded, and the question will be whether that can be delivered in the long run.
Much, has it? But Mike Freer, also, you're getting a superhighway from Barnet?
We're not, which is a shame, because I'm a keen cyclist. I do cycle into Westminster.
You never know, Mike.
Tory MP.
I'm pleased to see that you are improving Swiss Cottage, which is a bit of a Russian roulette when I cycle through.
There's going to be a superhighway through Swiss Cottage, and as for the money, I mean, obviously, it's as guaranteed as anything else in the TfL business plan. Nothing in the TfL business plan.
It's just not enormously more than has been out there.
It's dramatically more. It was going to be 273 million over 10 years. It's now 913 million. So there's 2.5 times more, dramatically more.
Okay. Thanks very much indeed.